My name is Tom Huber. I am representing, along with Frank and Paul, Diamond Towns of America. And our goal today is to basically orient you all to what we're doing here in Muscatine with a program that we call Diamond Town Mobilizing Muscatine Excellence. And as you'll learn, it's a comprehensive community planning process that we need a lot of involvement in. But before we get started, please make sure that you turn off your cell phones or at least put them on silent. We are recording this and we're going to be presenting it starting next week or so on Channel 9 on the local cable network. Also, there'll be opportunity for community questions from you all, and we've got a microphone, I guess your left front here, that we'd like you, as you pose questions, to come up and please speak in the microphone so we get it on the voice on tape. So, with that, the other concept I'd like to mention briefly is the fact that, as you see on the screen, the 40-60 involvement. The key to this process is going to be getting a lot of community members involved. And what we call 40-60 is the people that normally get involved are the 40% of your typical community-involved committees. You see the same people coming from one meeting to the next and doing a lot of the volunteer work. But there's another, in our mind, 60% out there that either don't have the opportunity to get involved or aren't asked. So our process is to involve that other 60% in the process. So with that, again, I am the president of Diamond Towns of America. My background is I grew up on a farm in northeast Iowa, a beef and hog farm. Went to University of Iowa, have an engineering degree, industrial engineering, and an MBA degree from University of Colorado in finance. Most of my professional career has been in healthcare finance. I came here as the CFO of Unity Healthcare. A little bit more about my background. My wife Jan is a substitute teacher here in town. I have 2 daughters. I went through the service in the ROTC program as a first and second lieutenant, and up until about a year ago, worked in healthcare finance. I joined up with Frank and Paul about a year ago now, and the initial idea finally has come together in terms of us taking on a town, i.e. Muscatine, to do the Mobilizing Muscatine Excellence Program. So with that, Paul?
Hi, I'm Paul Carroll, and I'm an area native. I grew up on a livestock farm, crop and livestock farm down in Louisa County, part of a big family. My career started at MCC, and I went on to Iowa State getting a degree in agriculture education, taught high school ag for a few years, and then got into small business. I was an insurance agent, and then my career moved into social work and healthcare. I was a case manager at the county home, went back to teaching shortly, and then worked in philanthropy, actually at the Community Foundation with Frank, and learned a lot about the good things that are happening in a community, and when people work together, all the synergy that's created. I'm married to Lori, who's also an educator, and we're just really excited to have a chance to tell our story to you and make you understand our process, and hopefully you'll be motivated to get involved.
Hi everybody, my name's Frank Kelly, and I was born in Tulsa, and Oklahoma, and I grew up in England, and I came back to the States to go to college, and I wound up with a degree in journalism, and I worked in advertising and public relations and corporate relations for a long, long time. And I had an opportunity to come to work for Hahn in 1986, and I came here, and I worked in their corporate advertising department, and I ultimately wound up as their manager of community and member relations. And I had an opportunity to start a business in the South, and I was not in love with cold weather. And so I worked on that for a while. My wife was involved in a motor vehicle accident, and we needed the support of our family, and so we moved back to Muscatine. And I had an opportunity to work for the Community Foundation at that time, and I had an awful lot of fun. It was really cool. And one of the neatest things I came across was a thing that had happened before I arrived called America's Promise. And I was really wondering why that didn't work. And I think it was because there was a large grant that made it start, and then when the grant evaporated, it pooped out. Anyway, I thought, boy, that would be a neat thing if we could get something like that going here, eventually here in Muscatine again. And then I retired, and Judy Holdorf has taken over, and she's doing a really great job with the Community Foundation. And at that point, Paul and I got together working on this concept called Diamond Towns, which was a dream of Dick McLean. And Paul and Tom joined, we all joined together, and we put some form to this dream. And that's where we are now. I'm married. My wife and I have six children, and we're going to have a family reunion in January. We're really excited about that. There should be like 30 of us in one house. This will be a thrill. Okay.
Okay. Oops, wrong way. Getting used to the technology here. Okay, did each of you pick up a letterfold on your way in? If not, Donna, I'm sorry, could get you one. If you look on the bottom of the front page, it summarizes our mission. Again, this is the Diamond Towns mission, but really today we're talking about Muscatine. Diamond Towns Support Foundation is dedicated to helping communities like Muscatine become effective and efficient in fostering joy and abundance for their residents by providing leadership and funding help for a sustainable and ongoing process. So that's what we're doing in a nutshell, and we're focusing on the city of Muscatine as our initial client town. What is comprehensive community planning? I mentioned that in the introduction. Comprehensive community planning is the process of looking at all aspects of the community life at the same time. We have a lot of organizations in town doing things on, as you look at the individual facets, which Frank will go over later, there's already a lot of activity going in town, and we're not discounting that process. But what we are trying to do is make sure that the process happens in a synergistic, positive, communicative way. So the whole idea of comprehensive community planning is to bring everything together at one time in priority order. It all won't happen coincidentally, but in some sort of priority order to help the community improve itself. The whole idea of lives lived well is what we're really trying to do. We need to address in this process both hard and soft aspects. What typically is looked at is what we call the hard aspects. Things like bricks and mortar, streets, housing, downtown, etc. That's a lot of what comprehensive community development focuses on. But we want to equally accent and concentrate on the soft aspects of our capital. And that is the people and the family support system that makes Muscatine a great place to live. Paul?
We have a couple objectives and kind of questions we want to answer today. First of all, we need to familiarize you with the process, and this, as the community learns about the process, will be involving more and more people. And we need to focus on individuals and not the community perspective. Everybody's voice needs to be equal and needs to be heard if we're really going to have sustainable impact in the lives of our residents. And too many times, edicts come from the top down and basically tell people how to live and really don't involve them in solving their own problems. And if we're going to really make sustainable change in some of the societal issues that we worry about all the time, like crime and teen pregnancy, we really have to involve more people in the community and hear their voice. And so at the end of this session, we're going to ask you to get involved. Not on the slide, but we heard a couple good questions that we hear over and over from a local philanthropist that's done a lot in our community, both as an active person leading, but also putting his money in the pot when it was time. And he asked the question, well, what's really different about your process than other community process we've been involved in? I've been through these leadership sessions before, so we want to answer that question. And then the other thing is, how are you going to dovetail the work in with the existing groups? You know, how are you going to work with the people that are already out there in the trenches doing the good work that you want done? And so we hope to answer those questions as we get through the session today. our work and the Diamond Towns process is based on a number of common challenges that we found exist in almost every community. And these same challenges come up over and over again. But I want to ask the group, name some challenges that you find in working in community growth or community development. What do you experience that hold you back? Barriers to community planning, community excellence.
And if you could please either shout out or come up to the microphone.
What are some of the things you experience that limit the work that you do? We have a shy group
All right.
today.
Well, you know, we've had a couple of these meetings already before, and one of the first things we heard was a lack of a community vision, a total community vision. That people aren't really in the same boat as far as their picture of what the future would look like. Another one was inadequate community communications. People don't talk to each other enough. We don't talk about the good things. We don't talk about plans for the future. We don't talk about how we could all work with each other. Another thing is equal access to existing initiatives. Like, people just don't know what's going on, and they feel that, well, that program's not for me, or this opportunity is nothing that I can avail myself of. Another one is the overlap of existing groups and initiatives. A lot of people are doing the same thing, and they aren't communicating with each other. They seem to be in competition with each other. Finally, you know, we're busy. You know, Tom was watching people go by, waiting for me to come out of my house today, and he watched people drive down Mulberry Avenue, and 3 out of 5 people were on the cell phone as they drove to work. So, I mean, we're always, you know, the hurly-burly and the pressure and the tension of life is always there. So there's no time to plan, and groups like the city and the county and individuals don't have time and resources and the opportunity to do the long-range planning that they know they need to do. And if they do it, there's somebody else is doing another plan at the same time, and so it's overlapped and crunched on and so forth. There's not enough funding and manpower is another complaint that we hear of all the time. And finally, well, no, not finally, we need to do more to celebrate our success. A lot of people are doing good things, and we don't hear about the success. All we hear is about the next darn problem, and that's the final thing that we had on our list was a lot of negativity, which is really, I don't think that's a real word anyway, but a lot of negative feedback, and that really does detract from and take the wind out of a group's sails when all you hear is, well, we tried that before and it didn't work, you know. Anyways, anybody else got anything going on this?
I'm going to keep moving then. I mentioned this was research-based. Over the last 5 years, a person was hired to develop this process. I participated in her research, and we used Muscatine as one of the communities, and so we went along on a lot of interviews and actually interviewed several people in this room in that process. But what we really found is there's several things that surface, and these barriers are listed in your pamphlet, but the same list seems to occur from town to town. It includes absence of a community vision, absence of a recognized leadership, confusing or absent processes, inadequate communication, failure to recognize the existence of an opportunity or a problem, shortage of volunteers. We always need more people in the process. Absence of a common or recognized dream or vision, funding problems, or the failure to employ outcome measurements. We're going to talk about measurements in a bit. So, Frank?
So the real question, I mean, so here we are sitting here and we're talking about problems. What motivated you to come to this meeting? Well, there are a lot of people who have been to a series of meetings we've had already, and the things that brought them here was they were supporting the group where we were having our meeting. They have interests in our children's future. They have a sense of duty. Somebody has to do this, and I guess it's me. They want to improve synergism with other organizations. They're active in something now, and they want to have 2 + 2 = 6 or 10. They want to find out about our organization. They're curious about what we're doing. They're asking why is Diamond Towns different from other organizations. They want to promote cultural understanding because we have issues about social justice and cultural understanding in our community. They think that the community needs an updated vision, like it's happening in Dubuque or in Fairfield right now. So, did anybody have any different idea of why they came here today and to attend this meeting, other than that we browbeat you on the phone? No? Okay. Well, the other, I said before there's a lot of negativity, and I don't want anybody to get it, none of us want anybody to get the idea that we're looking at negative things all the time. There are plenty of good things happening in Muscatine. Yes, sir? Paul. Oh, okay.
These are some things that were listed in our previous meeting, and we can list a lot, but I'm just going to buzz through these quickly. For one thing, we have a vibrant community foundation that's really starting to have some great impact. We've had tremendous riverfront improvements. The Muscatine Agricultural Learning Center has opened and is really starting to serve area ag students. We have some good dining options. Some people complain that we don't have good dining, but we do have some good, unique dining options in downtown Muscatine. Community involvement in the tornado cleanup was one of the things. Certainly our state-of-the-art sports complexes, we have things that no other communities have. Muscatine image has really improved from being that dirty little river town that people thought it was several decades back. The Muscatine History and Industry Center has been a great success. The Flickinger Learning Center is a neighborhood teaching center that's having some impact, serving local neighborhood students. Rebuild Together Muscatine is a nice organization that's helped disadvantaged or poor do repairs on their homes. Improvement in the downtown Muscatine infrastructure, and also improvement in handling domestic abuse issues. Those are some things that were listed in our previous meetings.
But there, underlying all of this, I think a lot of us have some concerns about our community, and we worry about what the future holds for us. So a lot of people are concerned about us losing our industry. When Bandag moved was purchased by Bridgestone, the question was, will the headquarters stay here? Well, the headquarters is in Tennessee, and the people are beginning to move there. And what's next? And is there a next one? So there's some underlying concern about that. Our retail seems to be fading. The Chamber of Commerce expression of it has to do with bleeding. We lose a lot of our retail dollars to the Quad Cities and to Iowa City, and of course to the internet too, as people, so easy to get on Highway 61 and be at North Park Mall, lickety split. There's an increase in school violence. That's a societal issue. Is there anything that we can do here in our town to combat that and to turn that around? It's not the fault of the school system, it's a societal thing. How do we deal with that and make us different from the rest of the world? The other thing is we need more affordable housing. How much housing is there available for people who are making $20,000 to $50,000 a year? There is a problem for that. Too much substandard housing. Our housing stock is old. We have a lot of very antiquated housing stock, and so how do we update that and take it out of the substandard range? Another thing has to do with the number of adults who go to college. I don't know what the statistics are from the school at this present time, the class of 2010, but from a snapshot of the community itself, less than 18% of the people have completed a college degree, and that's not good. It's not what we need for competing for jobs in the 21st century. Aerospace and industry, that sort of thing. The less than 80%, somewhere around that area, graduate from high school. There's a low, and then that's not what the class of 2010 is going to do, but I mean, our picture of high school graduates in Muscatine at this present time. So we don't have a workforce that's highly educated. There's too much child abuse. Muscatine is in the top quartile of the state in reported cases of child abuse. And there's high unemployment too. It's not as bad as Michigan, but from a standpoint of comparing with the rest of the state, of course, if you're unemployed, the unemployment rate is 100%. But we need to look into that sort of situation too. But are there any concerns that have come across your mind? Things that you worry about? that you want to talk about today or you want us to deal with? Of course, we can talk about this after our meeting today, too. So, what are your positive desires for Muscatine, too? We have ours. And is somebody else going to take this, or is this mine here?
Highlight when you speak.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, positive desires for Muscatine. I think I forwarded, yes I did. Reverse the unfavorable trends that are happening right now. Again, this came from some of our prior discussions at the meetings back in November. I might comment also real quickly, some of the statistics that Frank just went through came out of the Vernon report, which was an asset assessment process that happened 3 or 4 years ago, I believe, prior to me coming to Muscatine. But these are commonly recognized problems that people want to correct here in Muscatine. Again, going back to positive desires, resurrect the pride of Muscatine that used to be here. Use our Muscatine assets in a positive manner. Improve the cultural understanding of Muscatine. We have a number of, I've heard off the cuff that we have 50 different languages spoke in this community, 50. We often think of Hispanic and maybe a few black and so on, but when you look at all the various ethnic groups here in town, we need to be encompassing and welcoming to all of them. There's a lot of things, kind of the flip side of what you just heard in terms of positive desires for Muscatine. And again, we'd welcome your comments now or later. But for the time being, why don't we just go ahead and move on?
What are some unique things about Muscatine? As a native, I think there are Muscatine has some assets and some special qualities that we don't see in every other community. But there's always a need for better communication. We need to communicate to the residents what's going on. One of our strengths has been our strong industry and our good wage base. Unfortunately, that's eroded some. One of our really unique things is our great level of philanthropy. You know, we're home base to some fortunes that spend money both locally but literally globally to do good work. We have a great park system. The riverfront has really just blossomed into life in the last few years, and we have that attractive new aquatic park. Some of these things, what's unique is those were paid for by local dollars. And one of them that's not on the list, but I was involved with the Ag Learning Center. And I don't believe the Ag Learning Center gets built in every community around the state, particularly with private dollars. I think that we are unique, that people will get behind a good cause to have great impact. So go ahead, Frank.
Well, I mean, what opportunities do we have that are in front of us? What can we do in the future? Well, naturally we need to improve communication with each other. It's the beginning of everything when we talk to each other and we're honest and we share our successes and our problems. We need to coordinate a community calendar. We've had several initiatives at this. Some of them have been very successful and have faded because of funding or that sort of thing. But we have an opportunity to have a great community calendar here. We need to expand Muscatine's base of opportunities. There are many jobs that are available that have to do with high-income positions. Things in aerospace, in research, in pharmaceuticals, that sort of thing, and sophisticated precision manufacturing, which will bring much higher wage scale to Muscatine. We need to get people excited about things too. I think we have a little bit of compassion fatigue or a little bit of effort fatigue here. The other opportunity is to buy in Muscatine. What can we do to stimulate our local retail and wholesale economy? So that's, does anybody else have any things that they think really are opportunities in front of us that we could really have a game changer going in Muscatine? Okay. Paul?
Well, we've said a lot of the good and the bad, but how do we get where we want to go? I'm going to go back to that research process a little bit. We identified these barriers or challenges that seem to be common throughout every community. And common sense would dictate, if we don't look at each of those barriers that are limiting the work of our groups or manage them somehow, we're going to continue that fight. So if we want to get where we want to go, we have to overcome or manage those barriers. We have to use a deliberate, sustained process to do that. We need to bring citizens to the process because nothing happens without the workers that make the change. We need to divide into manageable work groups. No one person can attack 10 things at once and probably be effective. So we break it down into work areas. We evaluate and then we set some visions. So we take a look at the good progress that's been going on, the ongoing challenges that we want to address, and then we set a vision to work on those. We develop strategies and we implement those strategies. And really important now is to measure and communicate the success. Funders are now demanding measurements. So if a funder says you have to show me proven outcomes, but the groups don't have a way to do that, or that's new territory to them, how do we systematically teach the community to measure outcomes? And so the Diamond Towns process addresses this. And then after we've had some success, we aim higher. We raise our goals and keep going.
You know, we have a picture of Albert Einstein here, and Einstein had this quotation that was captured by somebody, which is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and anticipating different results. We have good things happening, but the way we do good things and coordinate good things doesn't get the results that we think we could have as a community. You know, the first good thing that I can think of that we have right now is this cable access station. I mean, how many communities our size have this sort of facility available to them and this sort of personnel who's running it? I mean, it's just really a neat thing. It's an asset of communication, which is our first facet. Communication and community resources is our first facet, and are we using it as best we can? That's a thing that perhaps somebody needs to study and think about besides the people who operate it. So that's one thing. The other thing is, you know, here I look at this newspaper here, which was last night's, and that's one of the good things. How many towns our size have a daily newspaper? Now, everybody likes to chip away at their local resource, you know, and they can talk about spelling and punctuation and headlines and things like that. But the fact is, we do have a daily paper. The question is, how are we as a community using our daily paper? Are we doing it the right way? And I don't mean using it like wrapping fish in it. I mean from the standpoint of actually writing to it and communicating with it, talking to the editorial board, and getting our good stories, our good news covered in this paper instead of another murder, you know, or whatever it might be. So that's a really cool deal. And here, you know, in the paper today, we have this thing, or yesterday, and it is, Stroll reminds us of the good things going on in downtown. And you know, we have a paper that has an editorial staff that has a good attitude about our community, as opposed to, you know, let's hold our nose about where we live. This is you know, a publication with enthusiasm for our community. And the thing is, they like to cover. And here we are. There are good things happening. We have pictures, check-passing pictures in the paper for the Humane Society and, you know, the Rotary Club that does such good work and that sort of thing. And so we have a lot of good things. Oh, and the Red Kettle campaign is kicked off again this year. And, you know, people do care, and they are doing, but are we doing the best we can? So that's where this Diamond Town concept comes in. And the Diamond Town concept employs a home office and a Muscatine community facilitator. That's a person who sort of holds it all together, the ringleader kind of character. You know, you've all been to the circus, to the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey three-ring circus, the greatest show on earth, and you know that there's a ringmaster there who keeps everything going and happening. Do we have that kind of person working right now? Well, we think that's the key, the essential person, this community facilitator who is responsible for this. And then we have a person from Diamond Towns who serves in this home office function, which would be the mentor for the community. And this person would do a lot of research and keep thinking about what is going on in towns this size that we're not doing right here, that we could capture and copy and emulate in a way that makes the most sense for us. So that's the neat thing about it. And this research that Paul talks about has identified 11 important facets of community life, and they're all interwoven. Everything is connected. You think about a child sitting in a classroom and I'll tell you, I have a story about this. In the kindergarten over here at Colorado School, Mrs. Smith measures the children's performance as a green day, a yellow day, or a red day. And there is a correlation between red days and trouble at home and green days and harmony at home. And so how can a red day is where a child has privileges withdrawn and discipline applied. A green day is where the child is rewarded and joy is imported, in a child's life. So, and the yellow day is when, they cut up in line or something like that. They don't bite somebody or they're not perfect, but that's, in between. And they can see when trouble at home is manifested in a kid. That trouble could be the parents not getting along with each other. It could be something that happened really seriously bad, like somebody is very sick, or there's a dad got shipped off to Iraq, or there could the loss of a job, or whatever it might be. The children, so how are they going to work in school? So, these things about what's going on at home, the money that's available for a coat, the doctor's availability for health and that sort of thing, and, what had they eat for breakfast in the morning. So all these things are together, and they manifest themselves in ways that are quite surprising. So we have these 11 facets. The first one is communications and community resources. And this has to do with citizens talking openly and working together to improve, and I'm going to rip right through these pretty quickly, all 11 facets.
You can follow along in the middle.
Yeah, in the middle, center panel, okay. To improve all facets and increase planned giving via the Community Foundation. The Community Foundation is a real important part of this process. We have a really great Community Foundation. I can brag about that because I worked there for a couple of years, and Judy Holdorf is doing a terrific job, and it's an asset. It's a freestanding, independent community foundation that subscribes to and adheres to the regulations of the National Council on Foundations. Very few community foundations are accredited by the National Council on Foundations. Ours is one of the first 100 in the nation. Anyway, community beauty. The citizens have pride in their community and involvement in beautification projects. The thing that's happening that's so neat here is Master Gardeners, the thing from the Extension Council. They have a Master Gardeners program, and people in the last 5 years, the beauty of this city from the standpoint of its parks, but most of all, what people do with landscaping their homes, is a dramatic difference. So anyway, community beauty, do we like what we see, and are we proud to talk about? Economic vitality is the toughest nut to crack. There are opportunities for all skills and education levels with focus on economic vitality at the family level, back to the family. But this is a real important thing, that there are jobs available to produce the money that people need to have a fulfilling life. Energy and water conservation. Water management and energy conservation are priorities. One of the greatest things we have right here is the Mississippi River and the aquifer that we have that provides abundant water for Muscatine. This will be a resource that other towns will simply not have, and the joy that all these people in Phoenix are enjoying right now is going to literally evaporate. Family effectiveness is another thing. Marriages, families, children, and parents thrive in the community that values the family structure and values improved parenting skills. This really is important. We have a phenomenon in America today where children are having children. There is no knowledge passed on, skills of parenting and skills of family operation, no way to budget your household, your time, or whatever it is. And so we have a real problem with family effectiveness, which manifests itself in schools and in the way the houses look. So you can see this is all, and in health. Think about this. We have children having children, and then we have all these obese people who are having diabetes problems and heart problems. This is all related to each other, the health and knowledge and family, family integrity. Housing, there's another facet here. Is there ample and affordable housing for people of all incomes and walks of life, with programs to maintain and beautify residential properties? It's not enough to have a house. You have to know how to take care of your house as well. And so that's an important part of learning. And, and the kids have to take care of it. So we're back to family structure and family effectiveness. We go on to justice and safety, another facet here. Programs work to make citizens feel safe and secure on their streets and improve crime statistics to reduce imprisonment. There's things that we can do to reduce recidivism instantly. There are things that we can do to reduce the number of kids who are having problems on the street. Are we doing them? Some of them we are in certain neighborhoods and in certain places, but do we have a citywide effort on it? Can we have one? Is there communication that can help? There's a thing that's just miraculous that has to do with the 40 assets of children, which I know that a lot of people have worked on. The Big Brothers Big Sisters program does a lot to improve on this sort of thing. So anyway, and you know, that has to do with family and recreation, a lot of other things. It's tied together. Learning, lifelong learning is encouraged and available and emphasized for people in all economic and social positions. My dad used to say that the most important school you went to was from the cradle to kindergarten and after 3 o'clock. That's where all the really valuable learning took place. And it is. It's not that, I don't mean to denigrate what happens in the classroom, but if you don't have this going on at home, nothing's going to work in school. Nothing is going to work in school. These poor teachers are sent feedstock that is badly damaged, and they are supposed to, make a silk purse out of something that is really shop worn. Anyway, the next thing is recreation. Enhanced parks and recreation programs to develop spiritual life too. Wellness and arts and adequate facilities to support all these objectives. What people do with their time and how they manage it, and the facilities and the people and the money that's available to help them do that. Think about this, about recreation, paths for hiking and biking, how that would improve health. But you need to have a safe and secure community to make them welcome and used. Finally, we get social and cultural understanding. The community values people and groups of all races, creeds, and cultural and economic background. My mom came from England, so she was an immigrant. My great-grandfather came from Ireland. My dad tells stories of going to Cleveland to get a job with the Cleveland Twist Drill Company in 1919, and the sign in the window said, "Help wanted, Irish need not apply." That was in 1919. And, have we really moved that far from this? And what did the Irish and the Italians and the Germans do for this country? They were the labor that made this a fabulous industrial center. Are we welcoming and utilizing and encouraging people who come here from other countries and other cultures to get the most out of them, make them most welcome, and celebrate the diversity and utilize their energy and their drive for success? So anyway, those are the facets, the 11 facets. Tom?
Donna, if you could please pass out the blue flow chart, and we need a couple of them up here too. So, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, so far we've been talking a lot about the big picture of what's going on or what could be going on here in Muscatine, and specifically Frank just took us through the 11 facets that make up the basis of the whole process that we employ here at Diamond Towns. This flow chart,
there we are.
I don't think you can possibly read that, but you've got it in front of you. But I want to kind of tell you where we're at as of today. The first row is legal process and financial setup. We have established an organization called Diamond Town Mobilizing Muscatine's Excellence, or Muscatine Excellence. And that was established as of this week in cooperation with the Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine. So we now have an organization that's going to work to organize the facet teams, facet team leaders, and so on. The next row is the community engagement process, which we're at in the middle of with this third meeting of the community. Pulling together the community resources communications team, and also holding informational meetings such as this. This is the third one of these. We do have a communications team working. It's the first of the 11 facets that needs to work to get the communication out to the community in terms of what Mobilizing Muscatine Excellence is all about. So they met for the first time yesterday, and will continue to meet, and then as they get going, we'll organize the other 10 facet work teams. And then from the third row on down to the bottom is the ongoing process. I'm not going to take you through each block, but what I would like to do is kind of do a quick picture here of really how the process works for the Diamond Towns initiative. If you think of this as a wheel, and you think of the center as the axle of that wheel, we have 3 primary components. We have the Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine. That is the sponsoring organization for what we're doing here in Muscatine. We have the Mobilizing Muscatine Excellence program with its facilitator, which is Paul. Paul is being loaned from Diamond Towns free of charge for the next month or two until we get internal funding worked up, to be the facilitator for the Mobilizing Muscatine Excellence process. The third piece is Diamond Towns, which is myself, Tom, as the mentor. So the three organizations or three entities together make up the axle of the wheel. The next layer out is the communications and community resources team. Again, as I mentioned a moment ago, that's the group that's getting the word out. Part of it's going to be through the televising of this event today and putting it on TV starting next week, but getting it out through emails, video, whatever other aspects we have. And then the other 10 facets will grow in layers based upon priority and passion. Priority being what's most important to the community, or who do we have in the community and what group do we have in the community that's already passionate about something that we can help them take the process forward. So the whole idea then is you create a wheel rolling down the road, gathering steam, and working with all the existing entities in town that are already working on various facets, but bringing them into the fold. The way I look at the process is, in the past, we have a gigantic jigsaw puzzle. We have lots of groups already working, which are pieces of the puzzle. There are overlaps to those pieces of the puzzle. In other words, multiple groups working on the same facet or same area. And then there are gaps to the puzzle, things that should be happening that aren't happening. The goal of this Diamond Towns process that you see here is to integrate those puzzle pieces so there's some overlap in all of them, i.e. the communication, that the right things that are synergistically working are working, but we don't have any gaps in the puzzle, and so that it all fits together, has appropriate communication, and the community is aware of what's going on and feeling proud of itself and growing as we move ahead.
Well, we talked about this Diamond Towns concept, and I don't know if you remember watching the Ed Sullivan Show years ago. There was one guy that came back year after year. He put on a funny hat and he tossed up cups and saucers and balanced them, and at the same time he had these plates spinning on tabletops, and he would get 16 plates spinning and 16 cups on top of his head, and Ed Sullivan paid him a couple of $1,000, and everybody was, is he going to drop one, is he going to drop one, and he'd catch one on his foot and so forth. And if any of you have been in a small business, you feel like that guy on the Ed Sullivan Show, and I ran a little ad agency all by myself, and I just felt like I was going to drop a cup every day, and I did. Anyway, the Diamond Town and people who are working in comprehensive community planning efforts often feel like this sort of person. But we have this plan in this, my daughter says she has this vision and we all tease her about it. But the plan is in the home office manual that explains it all. And what we do, each one of these facets has an action team. So we don't have one person in charge of everything. This action team is led by an action team leader. And this person works regularly with the facilitator and with, like Paul, regarding their facet. They report on their progress, they have deadlines, they have assignments and that sort of thing that they work on their action team together. They assess how well Muscatine is doing in their particular facet and what else is happening, and then they set beginning benchmarks or metrics on where they are. For instance, how many divorces are there? How many children are born out of wedlock? How many kids are, what is the infant mortality rate? Or what is, these things where you can establish a factual basis. And then what are we going to do? Is this something we need to change? If it is something we need to change, how are we doing it? How can we reduce the number of arrests for gang-related activity? Or tagging property with some sort of gang activity or something like that. So we establish our metrics, our benchmarks, and then we begin to establish goals. Each one of these facet teams establishes a goal. And this would be a team of anywhere from 4 to 20 people on this team. And they establish their goals. Then they use Diamond Towns consultants, who we whistle these people in from wherever we find them, who know what they're doing, and to research the best practices. For instance, what is Springfield, Ohio doing? What are they doing in Columbia, Missouri? Does Fairfield, Iowa have something good to tell us? We look for these other working projects in other communities and adapt them locally to make them work. Also, And so we implement the best practices, and then we measure and report on our progress on a semi-annual basis, or whatever it is that is most logical for that particular facet. So we don't have a ringmaster who's running 12 rings at one time all the way down to how much salt is in the shakers. We have people who are responsible for these individual facets and their teams. Anyway, so that's it. Paul, you're going to tell us who pays for all this stuff, Paul?
Well, we're working on that. Obviously, it takes money to employ staff to do all this. Short term, we are funded. The Diamond Town's home office is funded and is lending staff and money to the local organization to get it going. We do have some local partnerships already. We've been helped out with some rent in a downtown office. We just opened the local initiative office at 217 West 2nd Street, right across from Hill's Paint Store. And so that's going to be a gathering place and a workplace for some of the local people to get together and start the work. So we're finding some other local sponsors. As we were trying to get the Diamond Town process and have our first client, we were very encouraged by a couple local philanthropists to say, well, why aren't you doing it in Muscatine? Start here first. And so we're working with them to line up some money. Then the other thing is we need to line up some money from out-of-town sources. Several months ago, we hosted a thing at the Ag Learning Center where we had Vilsack's Undersecretary of Rural Development here, and he was very encouraging that there's money at that level to bring to local communities to fund this.
And this is ongoing money, not just a flash in the pan, but on continuity of funding and support for different projects.
And there's also a lot of philanthropic organizations that are dabbling in this, and we think we'll be able to reach out to them. The money has two functions. We need to create an office and a staffed office that facilitates the process. So it's that local administrative or overhead process work. But then we're also going to be looking for money to do the work in the individual facets, the impact work that changes people's lives. And a lot of that money is already in motion, and we think we can leverage the local dollars that are at work at that with a lot of out-of-town dollars also. So how can Muscatine thrive? We need to build on existing efforts.
Let's jump ahead to Frank.
Okay.
Okay.
So what's next? Well, citizens need to nominate other people to be in this group and to volunteer themselves to be in this group. We need a Muscatine, we need a facilitator locally to organize the community resources, an ongoing and a permanent facilitator to get us going. The facilitator and the action team, the first one is the communications and community resources. They need to execute the next step of the community resources and communications plan that we have, an action team plan. And then the facilitator needs to organize the balance of the 10 action teams. And this should happen every 30 to 60 days. We should bring another one on stream because each one takes a lot of effort to get ignition and liftoff. Then the facilitator organizes the balance of the 10 action teams, and we think we can do this by in a very accelerated fashion. And then the facilitator will train the 10 teams, their leader, and then help coordinate and prioritize their activity. So we'll get a good overview by January 15th of what we're going to tackle. We'll have a prioritized list of what we're going to tackle, and then we'll begin to execute it by the middle of next month. But we won't have the teams in place and operating. We'll just know who needs to start the ball rolling.
I jumped ahead. Paul, would you like to let me back up one slide here, if I can?
Well, we just want to know how Muscatine can thrive. And again, it all boils down to have this ongoing process to manage things and bring people into the fold. I want to answer the question that local philanthropist said. How are you going to build on the efforts of the good things that are going on? I serve on 7 or 8 committees, and every single one of them could use more manpower. I mean, some of them need more money, but it really starts with the manpower issue. And so the best success we can have right away is engaging you folks to give us names of that other 60% we talk about to bring in more workers into the process. So we need that local leadership developed. We're going to use the Diamond Town home office support system. We're going to balance that with local knowledge of what needs to be done and what is being done and how to grow that, involving that other 60%. And if we hit an issue that we're not sure what to do with, we reach out to the home office staff to find us that best practice.
Okay.
We're getting close to the end, Frank.
All right, and we're in time too. In the last couple of months, there's an organization here. It's a think group, sort of a men's discussion group, and there have been 2 papers presented. One was by a local attorney on poverty, its definitions, causes, and strategies, and it's an interesting and alarming evaluation on the 3 characteristics of poverty in any community and in ours, and that's really worth looking at. We have copies of his white paper here, and there's another one here that I wrote on Iowa, its dreams, its reality, and its change that it's facing. We are facing some really difficult things in the next 10 to 15 years. I'll give you an example. In the next 10 years, over 350,000 people are going to retire. These are people who know what they're doing. Who's going to replace them? Because the people who are graduating from high school and from college are taking jobs in other states. Who will staff these responsible positions? How can we stop the brain drain? It's a really alarming thing. So anyway, I want you to take a look at those. And the other thing is I want you to take out this...
Hey, just a quick comment there. We're going to place those papers on the table as you exit. There'll be a stack of each of them so you can pick them up as you go.
And Donna has a piece of paper there that has highlighted in yellow a nomination form. It's you're invited to join Motivating Muscatine to Excellence, Muscatine's Excellence. And I want you to take a look at this and fill it out. You can do it now or at a later time. People you think that we have not contacted yet who really have a lot to bring to the party, who think and who will talk to us about what we're doing and will be active participants in how to fine-tune and tweak our project here. And finally, there's another thing that I want you to take a look at, and Donna will hand that out in a minute. It's the facet interest form. Each one of these forms, and they're right there in front of us. She'll have it.
She's getting them.
Donna? Okay.
Double time.
Double time. Anyway, this is Donna Pierce, incidentally.
If you could handle about 3 of those to each person.
Yeah.
Yes, do you want these 2?
No,
We don't
No.
We've got those.
Oh, each one of these has the 11 facets shown on it. So if one of those or 2 or 3 of them interest you, circle the thing that interests you, 1 per sheet, and write your name on it. And then afterwards you can drop it in these little hoppers here that we have shown. So if you have 2 things that interest you, you would circle 2 sheets of, 1 each on 2 sheets of paper. And write your name and your email and phone address if you can. If you have 3, then you'd use 3 sheets of paper. Anyway, it's our way of finding out who would be a likely person to be a member of a specific action team. So far, we've had some very good results. There are a lot of people who are interested in working in certain facets. And so if you would do that, that would really help us, and you could be part of the thing that makes a real significant, meaningful, and noteworthy change in our community for the better. So I really do thank you very much. Tom, you got anything to wrap up?
Thanks again for coming. If you want to take those interest forms with you and get them back to us later, that's fine too. If you want to volunteer for 1 or 5 or none at all, it's entirely your call. But we just need volunteers, and we need volunteers in all 11 facets. The tubs are up here in the front with the corresponding facet labels. And if you have one that you're really interested and you only want to put 1 out in that bucket, that's fine too. We need people's names to get involved, and they can be your friends and neighbors via that nomination form that Donna passed out a couple minutes ago. And what we've got right now is about 350 people in Muscatine interested in this process. As of today, we've had about 70 of you attend one of these 3 sessions. So there's another 280 out there that we need to get into the fold that are interested but haven't yet volunteered for 1 or more of the facets. These facet work teams will involve an hour or 2 per week at max, but we'll be starting up in a phased fashion after the first of the year. And the most important thing that we want to emphasize is we're not going to duplicate what's already going on out there. We're going to work with the various facet areas that are already in existence. The quickest one that comes to mind is Kathy Brooker is working on an education process with the school district. Obviously, she's probably top on our list to get involved in the learning facet. But each of you have interests in various areas. Let us know via signing up for those interest forms and dropping them into the buckets. Anything else?
Nope, we just thank you for
so
your
much.
time.
Yeah, I really appreciate you
And
coming here.
we'll be around here to visit as some of you have time to stay, but if you need to run,
It's
thank you for
12:30.
coming.
Okay, thanks an awful lot.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.